A Thanksgiving game that was supposed to be Detroit's victory lap just turned into a live stream regression therapy session for every single Detroit Lions fan here in America. Welcome to Why It's Trending Daily. I'm Hank, and this is where I break down the stories that everyone is suddenly Googling, and I explain to you why they matter. So, because what happened at Ford Field today wasn't just a normal loss, it was the perfect Lions cocktail. A brutal injury to their best receiver, a defense that picked the worst possible time to forget how to tackle, and a head coach who treats fourth down like a dare from the universe or something. This was supposed to be the year Detroit flipped the script. They came in at 7-4 with a legit shot at controlling the NFC North, finally playing meaningful football in late November. National TV, the whole country is watching the new Lions. Energy in the air. Instead, you get Amon-Ra St. Brown rolling his ankle while trying to make a block, getting helped off of the field, and suddenly the entire stadium feels like it just watched the season limp to the locker room with him. It was brutal. Now, Amon-Ra wasn't just some random wideout. He was the son of this entire offense that was orbited around, right? I mean, top tier production, double-digit targets every single week, fantasy wide receiver one kind of guy. Jared Goff stares at him when everything else breaks down. And then he goes down on a weird, ugly play that doesn't even look heroic, just unlucky. A lineman falls into the back of his leg, his ankle folds, the clock stops, and Detroit's stomach drops. If you're a Lions fan, you instantly know that feeling. It's always the guy you absolutely cannot afford to lose. And while everyone's still processing this whole thing, the Packers start doing exactly what Lions fans were terrified of, and that's turning this game into a statement in the other direction. Jordan Love is suddenly confident again, taking shots down the field, hitting deep balls, and Detroit's defense looks like it got the short week email and just decided to not open it. Anytime the Lions grab a little momentum, Green Bay responds with a drive that feels like a dagger to their heart. You scratch back, they hit a bomb. You score, they convert a huge fourth down. You try to settle in, they punch right through the part of your defense that you pretend isn't a problem. And then, of course, there's their coach, Dan Campbell. Detroit loves him because he's aggressive, he's emotional, and he looks like he could still bench press a Buick by himself. But that same we're biting kneecaps energy turns into we're giving away possessions real fast when you're handing the ball back to Rodgers' successor near midfield on failed fourth down runs that everyone in the building could see coming from a mile away. At some point, you stop being fearless and you start being predictable. And on Thanksgiving, Campbell crossed that line in front of the entire country. Now, you've got one sequence that basically sums up the whole thing, right? You're down, you've got a field goal opportunity that would keep you alive, and instead you go for it, get stuffed, and watch the game slide further out of reach. It's the kind of decision that your fan base applauds when you're rolling and absolutely hates when you're bleeding, right? You know how it goes. And when your best receiver is already in the locker room in a walking boot, rolling the dice like that doesn't exactly look brave. In fact, you can make the argument that it looks downright reckless. Now let's zoom out here though. Detroit came into this game trying to prove last season wasn't a fluke, and this season wasn't about to collapse under the weight of expectations, including losing their premier offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson, to the Bears. Now you take away Amon-Ra St. Brown for any serious amount of time, and suddenly this offense has to be rebuilt completely on the fly. Yes, Jameson Williams showed some flashes, and yes, a couple other guys stepped up, but there's a difference between exciting wide receiver 2 making plays and everybody knows you're the guy now. Good luck seeing double coverage for the rest of the year. Now, defenses are going to press these receivers, crowd the line, and dare Jared Goff to beat them without his security blanket. And we know how that goes for Jared Goff, usually not too well. For fantasy players, this is nightmare fuel. You drafted Amon-Ra high, he's been carrying the roster, and now your wide receiver 1 just disappeared in week 13 on a Thursday night game, which means you probably benched someone good to start him, and now you're staring at a box score with zeros and a medical update. Not ideal. And the ripple effect of this is huge. Suddenly, Jameson Williams becomes an auto start. Random guys like Tom Kennedy and Isaac Tesla become waiver wire emergencies, and everybody is refreshing Twitter for ankle MRI news like it's a presidential election or something. This is DEFCON 5 for Lions fans. And financially, this matters too. We're talking bets, parlays, player props, all of it just got totally nuked. If you had Lions minus 3.5, you watched the fourth down bravado and defensive breakdowns burn your ticket in slow motion. If you anchored your daily fantasy sports lineups around Amon-Ra, well, you may as well have just set your entry fee on fire and mailed ashes to Vegas. And that's before you even factor in the broader NFC landscape right now, where one single game like this can cost you home field advantage and turn a winnable playoff path into a road trip through stadiums that hate you. Not to mention, they may not even make the playoffs at this point. And emotionally, this is brutal for Detroit. Thanksgiving is their holiday game. This is the one day a year they get the stage to themselves, when the rest of the league has to sit and watch them or whatever version of the Lions happens to show up. Last year, it finally felt like that meant something positive. But this year, it felt like the football gods saw Detroit getting a little too confident and decided to remind everyone who actually writes the script here, and it's not Roger Goodell. But here's the most dangerous part. Losses like this don't just sit in the standings. They sit in your head. Players start pressing more. Coaches double down on their identities to prove that they're not rattled. Fans feel the old doom creeping back in and start wondering if the new Lions were just the same old Lions with better lighting and a grittier front, right? This is real. And then in the NFC, where a couple of bad weeks can send you tumbling from team nobody wants to face to wildcard roadkill, you don't have a lot of room for psychological experiments. You got to keep your eyes on the prize. So why does this matter to you? Well, beyond the memes and the misery clips, because this is exactly how fast things can flip in today's modern NFL. One injury, one national TV meltdown, one coach who refuses to read the room on fourth down, and suddenly a franchise that looked like a rising power is fighting for its life again. If you're a fan of any team that thinks it's set, this is your warning label. It doesn't take much to knock you back down the ladder. If you're a Lions fan, this is either the moment your team responds and proves it's actually different now, or this is the moment that you realize the curse never left, it just took a bit of a bye week. Either way, Thanksgiving in Detroit just went from celebration to stress test, and the rest of the season is now one big question. Was this just a bad day for the Lions, or the first crack in the whole illusion? Because if the Lions don't answer that fast, the NFC and your fantasy league will answer it for them. And yes, the chaos is not stopping anytime soon.